Hey, what's up, you guys? It's me, Keke Palmer, and I'm about to have an amazing conversation with my older sister, Loreal Palmer, about her new memoir, Keep Living. So I haven't caught up with her in a while. Loreal, are you there?
I'm here.
Congrats on the book, Keep Living. It speaks to everything we've always heard both mom and grandma say. When anything's hard happening, we always say, keep living, just keep living.
Sisters sitting down to talk life,
I remember it very vividly.
love,
I was angry.
and horror movies.
Yeah, nah. We love horror films. If you could rewrite any classic horror film and cast me in it, which one would it be?
Oh my gosh, if I could recall. Oh, this is tough because
Girl, it better be the one that you know I want.
I'm like, wait, which one do you want? Well, okay, so
You know which one I would be perfect in. You know, girl, you know it. Not which one I love to watch, which one I would be the perfect scream queen.
oh, sweet baby Jesus. The two that come to mind that I'm just like, you would eat this up is I Know What You Did Last Summer.
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
And then also, I mean, if we're redoing this, like you would eat up Sidney Prescott in Scream.
Not in my movie.
Okay, so the first one that I was thinking was Sidney Prescott, but then I'm like, that Scream has been just drilled and drilled and drilled.
Yeah.
And most of the horror movies have been drilled, but like it's currently getting drilled. But I would definitely, like a full like retelling would eat down. However, I also agree with you, I Know What You Did Last Summer, because that one hasn't been, it hasn't been overdone. It's still kind of like living in its heyday. So that would be amazing. But the other one that I was gonna say was, I mean, come on now, who doesn't want to be Jamie Lee Curtis? Who doesn't want to be Jamie Lee?
A part of me thought that, but then I was trying to think of ones that you've seen, and I was like, I don't know how many times I've seen her watch Halloween, so that might not be on her radar.
I just want to be Jamie Lee because she's been killing him all her life. Okay? From the time she was 17, 18, up until literally 50, and Josh Hartnett was her damn child. Like, I just love that. Like, remember when Josh Hartnett was her son in that one?
So that's one of my favorite ones, that
love
Halloween
it.
H2O. And then
H2O.
also, the most recent one, there was a showdown between her and Michael, and they're like in their 60s, and this was like the best showdown that I have ever seen. They were really going, like, when I tell you I was satisfied in the theater, I was satisfied.
Loreal, I'm so proud of you in this memoir. So how therapeutic was it when you started writing this book?
It was so extremely therapeutic because a lot of these moments, I never went through them. I went around them. I'm very good at going around things. So when it came time to relay these memories and these moments, it kind of forced me to go through them in a way that I had never gone through them before. Like some of these chapters, I remember as I was writing them, this is gonna sound so dramatic, but like tears were falling down my
I get
face
it.
as I was writing them because I'm like, oh, you made it.
ARGILACIOUS.
That's correct.
So in the book, I talk about that moment where you auditioned for Akeelah and the Bee. I remember it very vividly. And I wanted to know if you remember what getting ready for that audition, how that went down.
I don't remember everything from that day. I just remember me and you, Mom used to have us do the spelling bees. I just remember that. Like, we would do the spelling bees, we would get money or treats or go to CVS for doing good for the spelling bee. Obviously, I remember when we all read the script. It was kind of our first really big role and motion picture for me. So I remember us just having a blast, thinking about Laurence Fishburne and the fact that he was in that movie Cornbread Earl and Me. And we would always be laughing about how old that movie was. You spoke about a lot in the book about the fame and how that caused everybody in our family to kind of take a new role and position. How did you process that over the years?
It was definitely a process. I talk about at first how I was kind of just bratty and resistant and didn't want to be there. And then I talk about how people always, when they find out that we're sisters, they're always like, were you ever jealous? And it's like, no, I was never jealous in the sense that they're thinking. It was more so like, what is my acting? What is my entertainment? Like,
Yeah.
why can't I find my thing? So it was more so that I've always just been so proud of you because it just seems like you were meant for this. Like, I literally was just telling someone the other day who found out that you were my sister. I was like, I was like, she's just a born entertainer. She could be paid pennies and she would still do this because she's done this her whole life. So it's just what she does. So I went through that of trying to find out what my thing was. And when I look back at it on my eyes of today, I wouldn't change a thing.
I know for me in that journey, I always felt like you were so supportive of me as well. But I felt like it was just a difficult dynamic to understand, which I think is the cool thing that we get to talk about now and share with people, because fame is a MFer. It really jolts a family because no one knows how to deal with it. It can jolt one person. And the fact that we were all, you all were supporting me in that, we were all exposed to it. And it's just not as simple and cut and dry as people think.
No, not at all. It's just like you said, it's this jolt, and it has the ability to tear people apart. But I mean,
Yes.
we're magical or something. So, what was it like for you reading your journey through my eyes?
Oh. Well, we've talked about it a lot. And I think I'm always astonished by all the love and the compassion that you show, because when I sometimes look at things from my siblings' eyes, and obviously you especially, because of all the things that you sacrificed for me to do what I did, I used to struggle with so much guilt, because I felt like, dang, like all this focus and all this stuff, that even though it's become, and it always was, a family thing and a family business and an opportunity for us all to kind of use this one gateway, it didn't always feel that way to us all. It was very much so, okay, this is Keke and we're doing everything for Keke and everything's Keke, Keke, Keke. But really the Keke Palmer brand is something that has helped propel us all in different areas. So it's like, that's great, but it still seemed so one person focused. And it took me a lot of years to kind of get through even some of that with myself and feeling, responsible for everyone. And so when I hear your telling of it, it really is like, wow, that's just the narrative that I've been telling myself, because that's actually not, and then you're telling yourself a whole nother narrative, and we both just killing ourselves with our narratives. So it's great that we can talk and that we've been able to talk more about it as we've gotten older, because, I would hope that my understanding of it relieves you in some ways, in the same way that when I'm hearing what you're saying and what you've written in this book has relieved me in a lot of ways.
You said in the foreword to my book that unexpected road bumps are gifts. So, what have been some of those road bumps that you've come across that you think were a gift to you, and how did you get through them?
When we came into Hollywood, I think that a lot of the lessons that I learned in terms of how to deal with life at that confusing time are skills that I'm able to use to this day in every relationship and working relationships. Just being understanding and seeing things from other people's perspective and all that kind of stuff. I really, in those early years of becoming quote unquote Keke Palmer and seeing the way it shifted the dynamic in our family, that helped me to learn how to understand people better. And I also think growing up in this industry and having a moment where there's ebbs and flows. Sometimes people love you and then sometimes people don't love you. And that experience of going from somebody that people really loved and always were looking to then being somebody that people are like, oh, she's old news. That was really important, I think, to my character development. And also to understanding that what my value is outside of the industry and outside of what the industry tells me. And also that it's always can be fluctuated. So even when you're down, there's nowhere to go but up. So it also has given me that kind of like free-flowing vibe. So a lot of women, have had such a hard time, with their partners coming out as gay. And this is something that you speak to in the book. Shout outs to Frank. We love him dearly. But it was obviously a big thing for him, but also a big thing for you. Like, I know you were so happy. I mean, I was there when you called me after a year of kind of dealing with all of it on your own. And, you had so much compassion for what it took for him to actually be able to live in his truth. But then there's that other side where the life you wanted is unfulfilled. were the things and the dreams you had for you. How did you kind of process your own feelings without feeling selfish? Because it's not selfish.
You know, somebody else is going through something and you can be there for them, but you can't negate how what they're going through is affecting you. So that was kind of the first step. Like, I'm so, you know, again, we're just such a magical family that we are so accepting of everyone and everything. And it took some time to realize that not everyone has that. So it was a lot for him to come out, and you know, there was no option for me other than to accept it. But then I had to tell myself, now, but wait, Miss Mamas, this was your husband. This was
your husband, and now y'all got 3 kids. He couldn't have told you 3 kids ago.
Exactly. Or maybe when we was 1 kid in, you know.
Right.
Like, it was not all positive. I was angry, and for the first time in my life, I was letting myself be angry, because anyone who knows me knows that it takes a lot to get me there. But but those who have got me there knows that once I'm there, like, that's it. You kind of have to let it run its course.
Yeah, it really does take a lot to get you there. But this is something that would do it in a beat.
Yeah.
So I get it for sure. Speaking of y'all's beautiful children, again, my favorite little ones in the world, outside of my little baby Leo, Allie, Leah, and AJ, they're fabulous. And, you know, before them, you also talk in the book about your struggles with miscarriages and PCOS and all that type of stuff. So which part of that was the hardest for you to relive, you think?
So I had a 19-week, 6-day miscarriage. And I was 1 day short of him being able to be issued a birth certificate. So that has always bothered me. I would have liked for him to have had a birth certificate. But the wonderful nurse there, she made me one, and she also made me a photo book of him, because she like dressed him up, because he was so tiny, so she pinned like a little hat around his head and like swaddled him up and everything like that, and took photos of me and made me a book with a hospital-made birth certificate. She took his footprints and all that stuff and made a photo album and handed it to me and was like, you know, just in case you want to look later. And I was so happy she did that, because I do, even today, sometimes still look at it. But reliving that moment was probably the hardest, because it came after a time where I had such early miscarriages. But now this was, you know, a pregnancy where I thought I was in the safe zone, and then this happened.
Man. Yeah, I remember that time. You handled it with grace, and I think it's important to talk about and share with women, you know, because it's never easy, you know, this whole child thing. It really isn't.
I mentioned you in that scene too. I was like, she was in there fighting with the doctor. Like, what can we do? Like, there has to be something.
I felt like that when we talk about this healthcare thing, it's always like, why didn't you tell me this about my cervix beforehand? Why didn't you give me this information beforehand? So I mean, like, in your mind going through that, what could you even say to a mom that could be of help or service before it gets to that point? Is there anything? There's nothing.
I think the best thing that people can do is just be there and listen to them, because the one thing that everyone says, and they think that this is so comforting, but it's actually the worst thing that people said to me, was, you can try again. It's like, I want this baby.
You know what? You kept living through all of these experiences, the jolt from going to Hollywood and pursuing a family business, to your children, your 3 beautiful children, your divorce, but your best friendship with Frank. And I think there's so many things that people will be able to learn and take away from this book, and if they go on this journey with you. So I'm so happy, and I'm so proud of you, Loreal. I really, really, really am. You've always inspired me. You've always been a big inspiration to me. You know, you talk about me being the extroverted one, but I'm just being an extroverted version of your personality. So really, I'm a fraud. I'm genuinely a fraud of you and the personality that you only share with the family. I then brought and shared it out into the world. So,
well, you know what? Keep doing it, because I'm a behind the scenes girl.